Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Winemaking 101, the series where I answer the fundamental questions and queries about winemaking at home in a condensed, precise, easy to follow format so that we can all make better wine. If you're enjoying these videos, then please subscribe to the channel down below. I would really appreciate your support. Today we are going to be going through the basics of how to bottle your wine. In a previous video I have covered when you should bottle your wine and the 5 tests you should undertake before you proceed to this stage of actually bottling the wine. I will run through a few key points here and now, and then we'll jump that side of the camera and go through the actual bottling stage, and I've got quite a few tips and tricks for you. So first thing a lot of people ask is, does it matter if you use a clear wine bottle or a green or brown wine bottle? And the answer is yes but no. Green wine bottles are better for reds because they stop the UV light from penetrating into the wine, and if that happens the colour of the wine can deplete and you go from a lovely red to a wine with a brown tinge. So it is always better to bottle your red wines in a green or brown bottle. You don't need to do it though. If you keep your wines in a dark place away from the UV light, so not on a windowsill but tucked away under the stairs somewhere, you won't have a problem if you want to use clear wine bottles. The best method is to use green bottles for red wine, but it's not essential. The second element of bottling your wine is screw cap or a cork. I personally always use screw caps because screw cap bottles are far more common these days than corks. And to be honest, they are far easier to apply than going through the corking process. Some people worry about the acidity levels of the wine affecting the inside of the caps. Some people worry that the acidity would corrode the inside of the cap. Even the most acidic of red wines is not going to be strong enough to corrode the cap. These caps have been made to withstand wine. Otherwise, wine producers would not use them. Because the last thing these vineyards and wine producers want is their product corroding before it reaches the shelf and into your shopping basket. So screw caps and acidity levels is not something you need to worry about. You should never try to cork a screw cap bottle because the neck of a screw cap bottle is much thinner and weaker than a cork wine bottle. Several people I know have had accidents by trying to cork a screw cap bottle. The neck shatters as they're holding it, trying to push a cork into the bottle. It shatters and they cut the palm of their hands. Some of them have sliced nerves leading to their fingers and they cannot then move their fingers for a considerable amount of time afterwards. I would really advise against corking a screw cap bottle. Some people like to apply a layer of wax over their corks. This these days is purely cosmetic. It just shows that you spent an extra bit of time tending to your wine and your wine bottling process, but it is not necessary. It used to be done back in the olden days for 2 main reasons. The first reason is because the corks were of a far lesser quality than corks of today, and they would let in a lot of oxygen into the wine, and that would lead to the wine being tainted by the oxygen. So the layer of wax would act as another barrier against the air. Second reason it used to be done was to prevent rats from chewing at the corks, because rats love cork apparently. These days, chances are, if you're storing wine under your stairs in your home, you aren't going to have a rodent problem. And if you do, get it sorted. As with all homebrew and winemaking principles and practices, you want to sanitize your wine bottles before you bottle, and also sanitize your siphon tube that you're going to use. Keep everything clean. You do not want to mess up at this stage. You have tended to your wine for a considerable amount of time. You've looked after it, you've got it to this stage. Last thing you want to do is mess up in the bottling process. So keep everything sanitized and clean as you go. So that there is a few of the very basic points covered. I didn't want to dwell on those points too long because largely they're common sense, like cleaning the wine bottles, and also not many people really want to wax their corks these days, but if you do, go for it. Anyway, let's jump over to the workbench and we'll start filling up the bottles. There are a few other things you're going to need to bottle your wine. The first up is your siphon tube, and I like to use a bottling wand as well. These are only cheap, but they really make the process of bottling your wine so much easier. If you are like me, a bit of a messy bugger, and the wife is always complaining about dribbles on the carpet after you've done your winemaking, I like to put the wine bottle into a pot so that any dribbles, any overflow goes into the pot and not onto the floor for the wife to clean up after and complain at you about. So that's what I like to do. Just put the wine bottle into the pot, catches all those drips and dribbles that you might make. So you want to have your wine higher than your wine bottles. So table, work surface, kitchen counter, all brilliant. The siphoning is just the same principle as racking your wine, only it's going into wine bottles. So set your siphon tube up and off you go. Bottles, all done, dusted, brilliant. And there's even a bit left over to have a taste. Good job. I am mightily impressed with the Daisy wine. It's one I'm going to make more of next year, maybe a 5-gallon batch, because it's light, it's summerish, it's suitable for barbecues. It's going to be brilliant, really cold on a hot summer's day. And it's quick to mature. Only made this a month ago and it's bottled already. I always like to lay my bottles down for at least a month before I consume them. There is such a thing as bottle shock, and bottle shock is a syndrome of wine when it goes into a new bottle, a new environment. It loses some of the quality and taste for a few weeks. It's not at its best, not at its prime. So you want to avoid drinking your wine in the first 2 weeks to a month when it's in the bottle. It's hard, you just made it. You think, why not? I have half a dozen on the table in front of me. Why not have one with dinner tonight? And then after you've had that bottle with dinner tonight, you say, well, let's have another one. Pretty good, hey, tasty, after dinner. And then same happens again the following night. You think, there's 4 left. 1 with dinner, 1 after dinner. And you're down to 2 then. And then you go, well, there's only 2 left. It is Friday night, we'll finish all 4 left. And you haven't allowed that wine to get to its maximum potential. Winemaking is a waiting game. The longer you wait, the bigger your reward is going to be. So where you can, try to avoid drinking your wine too soon. That's the reason you need to make more. You need to make more wine so that you can allow it to stand and become brilliant. I will be making a video up next about how to store your wine once it's in the bottle, and also in the demijohns about temperature and light conditions. So that's going to be coming up right next. So that's going to be the next video for you to look forward to.